All right, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about Russia, Ukraine, the media, and there's so much to talk about, really. For those of you, by the way, who think that Ukraine is doing really well in this conflict, here's my buddy Murado, who's doing some real reporting on the ground. I mean, real reporting. So he's in a hot war zone. So let's listen.
Wherever you go on any highway here in Ukraine, you'll find scenes like these convoys devastated in airstrikes or rocket strikes. These are Ukrainian vehicles of all types. You'll find tanks, APCs, armored vehicles, trucks, supply convoys, all destroyed. Troops usually caught in these strikes, those that make it out alive, usually lose, all will to fight, become completely demoralized, chuck off their military uniforms, put on civilian clothes and disappear, which is one of the reasons why Ukraine is now experiencing such a shortage of manpower, the Ukrainian military, which is why they have locked down the border and intensified their efforts to draft military-aged men for compulsory service.
All right, there you go. So they're trying to draft people into compulsory service in Ukraine. And Americans are giving up money that they earned, their hard-earned salaries, their hard-earned taxpayer money. They're going to give up. And in fact, they have, I think it was $13 billion slated to go to Ukraine for a failed state. It's a war, and Ukraine is losing the war. Whether you agree with the war or not, I've stated that I don't agree with any kinetic war, but I don't know how different in some regards a war that involves food or other commodities that people need, electricity, obviously. Then, of course, you've got the gas and oil. And we're doing this to ourselves, by the way. The United States is doing this to ourselves because we're so self-important and we can't stop the war machine. This is a wet dream for everybody who wants constant war, for all of your military contractors. We've been through this over and over again. And the United States either has, the people here really have short attention span, or they actually like it. It's a nice distraction. We had, 2 years of pandemic nonstop and the hysteria. And what I've been hearing too is that I watched this video over on Telegram, but they are coming for all of the mainstream sources that are linked to Russia. They're just going to eliminate. This is the new normal, where any speech that contradicts the narrative, the corporate narrative, right, which lines the pockets of the elites and the oligarchs in these corporations and a few, connected people at the top of the food chain. That's all this really helps. Same thing with sanctions. You're going to go after Russia with sanctions, and the collateral damage is the little guy who can't fill up his gas tank anymore. That's it's worth it, because these schlubs, they don't deserve to be able to not worry. I mean, it's energy insecurity. I hear a lot about food insecurity, right? This is energy insecurity. And we've only been throwing crisis after crisis at people for the last what? Well, actually, when Trump got elected, it was a constitutional crisis. How did he get in there? Oh, it was the Russians. You don't think that all of this media attention on the Russians for the past 6 years didn't influence their decision to go into Ukraine? They look at Ukraine as just another part of the United States, extending its power, its growth. And we sit here and we wonder, well, why would they, you hear in the news media and through the useful idiots who know nothing, Well, I don't understand why Russia would just attack a very peaceful country like this. Really? You mean the peaceful country that's been attacking its own citizens for 8 years in the eastern part of the country? Really? 14,000 people have lost their lives in this conflict. And between that and this push to make Ukraine either connected to NATO or a full member, I don't know. I think Putin just lost it. He had enough. And that's pretty sad because I wish he didn't lose it. But nobody's going to sit around and say with a straight face, gee, I have no idea why Putin would go in there. But let's address what I played here from Murado here. He's in a hot war zone, and everywhere he goes, he finds American-made munitions all over the place. This is what he's finding. All right. He puts it up to the camera and shows this isn't propaganda. He's showing where these guns and in some cases, much bigger forms of weaponry, he shows where it's being made, and a lot of it's made here in the good old USA, right? Isn't that great? So we are funding this war by proxy. $13 billion, by the way, isn't by proxy. It just goes right there. All right. Maybe we're just going to do nation building with the money because this to me is a wasted investment. We're investing $13 billion into broken infrastructure so they can continue to fight and beat the Russians in a war. No. I think if anything, the Russians probably tried to go in there softer than they could have. That's my take on it. And now I think they're ramping it up a little bit because they just want to get it over with. They don't want an extended war. Now, if you can't come to an agreement, though, you will have an extended war. If you can't agree to the terms that Russia, and they're easy terms. These are, and nobody in the Western media is talking about the terms of surrender. Nobody. There are a few people out there who are saying, well, maybe it's a better idea to take a look at this and, we can end this rather than, being prideful and sticking out our chest and saying, no, we've got this. We're the United States. This is what we do. We're really good at proxy war. We're really good at regime change war. Actually, they're not. But the point is they really like proxy war and they like regime change war. And this, quite honestly, is almost like a 2-for-1. I mean, do you think Zelensky is here really for the long haul? No, he's a puppet. And once his, usefulness is over with, he'll be discarded. Maybe we'll give him asylum here in the United States. I don't know, but this is just ridiculous. And American citizens, regular American citizens right now, are being told that it's their patriotic duty to talk about Ukraine in a positive way. In fact, it's so upside down that Facebook now is allowing for posts against Russia that advocate violence against either Putin or those in the Russian government, and also praising, this is true story, I'm not making this up, praising the neo-Nazi elements within Ukraine. Can you imagine? Can you believe this? I mean, in any other time in our history, I think none of this would be permissible, and we'd be kind of thinking that this is some sort of joke, but it's not. Social media companies have more power than most countries. So this is going to be devastating because people are just going to fall lockstep into, yes, neo-Nazis, good, Russia, bad. We need to get these people. That's why Joe Biden said at the end of his State of the Union, go get them. Go get them. That's what he was talking about. So in any event, Ukraine is not only losing this war, they're getting their ass kicked. All right. And until somebody shows me proof that it's not as easy as it looks for Russia, I think they could wrap this up much quicker. I think they've actually tried to limit the civilian casualties, which is just about impossible to do in a war. I think the longer this goes on, the more unintended collateral damage will happen. And obviously, here's the thing. Apparently, human lives really aren't important to the Biden State Department and all the people who are just neocons and have wanted this war. And now that they've got it, they don't want to let a good crisis go to waste. They've got to figure out how to maximize this and bring the American people along and obfuscate what the Biden administration has done to the economy, because it is their doing. It's not Putin who did this to the economy. You want to try to shift this blame over to Vladimir Putin? Good luck. It's not Donald Trump either, by the way. No way. You could see Trump in office, $1.92 a gallon. Trump out of office a year later, $4.39 a gallon. This is not acceptable, and Americans better wake up that we need a revolution, a peaceful revolution, hopefully that starts at the ballot box, but goes into culture, goes everywhere, and we need all hands on deck. Otherwise, it's over. It's a black-pilled moment. There is no solution. There's no political solution to this problem, which then makes us all into individual agents where we're going to have to just fend for ourselves and fight for our individual rights. And, it's going to be a brutal time to be alive, but I'll say this, it is quite interesting at this time. All right, people, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. You can join me over on Patreon for just $1 a month, and we just keep on keeping on. That's all we can do.